My son, he's 9 years old, and anytime he really wants something, he'll come to me and it's just at the tip of the tongue, and he has such a hard time asking for what he wants. And one day he said, "Mom, why is it so hard to ask?" And I said to him, well, typically it's because we have a fear of rejection. What if the answer's no? And I don't think that's just true for a 9-year-old, but for all of us. We are hardwired in our brains. If you can imagine, hundreds of thousands of years ago, we relied so much on community, and being accepted by our community meant survival. And if we were rejected by our community, that was almost a guaranteed death. And so we're wired for acceptance. And because we're wired for that, our fear of being rejected is so wired within us that sometimes it can be really, really difficult to be vulnerable, to ask for what we want, and to really be that authentic self. On the other hand, we know when it comes to relationship and connection, how much we value vulnerability, authenticity. It's what allows us to connect. So it's like there's these two parts of us. One who's scared to put ourselves out there. What if we get rejected? What if we're not accepted? What if we get ridiculed? Especially in this cancel culture that we have today, the fear of rejection, it can mean massive pain when somebody makes a mistake or they say the wrong thing, and all of a sudden there's this big uprise and their contracts are being canceled and they're being blasted on social media. That fall is so huge. And so what that can do within us is reinforce this fear of being our vulnerable, authentic self. So here we are longing for connection, we're longing for community, we're longing for this growth, and we're scared to put ourselves out there. Does that resonate with you? I know certainly in my own life, that fear of being vulnerable has held me back numerous times, where I felt like I had to look like I've got it all together. Don't admit my weaknesses. Don't admit when I don't have the answer, right? It's like this looking good act that's happening. And that actually holds us back. When we are more vulnerable, when we are more authentic, that's when people are gravitated towards us. That's when we create these deep meaning relationships and these connections. And so how do we lean into that part of us that wants to ask for what we want? Asking for help and looking for guidance is not a weakness. It's how we grow. It's how we expand. It's how we nurture relationships. It's how we lean into being that authentic self. I'm going to be vulnerable and lean in with an ask. But before I do that, let me tell you, how do you be vulnerable? How do you ask for what you want when there is that fear of rejection, that fear of failure, that fear of being ridiculed? It can be really, really helpful to realize that if I don't lean in, if I'm not vulnerable, what's the cost of staying where I am? There's a cost of not asking for what you want. There's a cost of not requesting growth, of being that authentic self. What's the cost if I don't lean in here? What's the cost if I don't ask? And there's absolutely a cost of staying where you are. Sometimes that might be decreased happiness. It could cost you your relationships. It could cost you maybe that promotion, that opportunity to really stretch yourself, to know what you're capable of. Asking yourself, if I don't lean in here, if I'm not vulnerable, what's the cost of that? That's one question we want to ask ourselves. And the second part is, what's the potential upside if I am vulnerable? Once we understand the cost of not being vulnerable, then we want to look at what's the opportunity. What could occur for me if I do lean in, if I am vulnerable, if I do ask? I always say to my son, the answer is always no if you don't ask. And so what you're risking is the potential yes, the potential growth, the potential opportunities. And once we start to weigh those two things out, it can be helpful to help us take that first step, to be vulnerable, to be more authentic, and therefore to really know what we're truly capable of. Here's my moment to be vulnerable. I am very, very proud of this community that we've built, and I'm so grateful for you tuning in every week and watching these videos. And I know that I've also prevented it from really growing, because the fear has been, if this channel grows, if more people start to see these videos, it's more likely that there's going to be negative comments, there's going to be criticism, there's going to be dislikes. And again, that fear of not being accepted has held me back up until now. And so my commitment, as I look at what are my goals and how I want to serve people, and I know these messages change lives, and I want to reach as many people with these messages as possible. So here I am, being vulnerable, leaning in, and committing to doing everything I can to grow this channel. And here's where I need your help. Every like, every subscribe, every comment helps us get this message to other people. There are so many people around this world right now that have this desire for more, who want to know how to discover their passion and live on purpose, and how to work with their mindset to really create results. My ask for you is, if these videos are serving you, share them, like them, comment on them, and you can help me spread this message so we can really create this incredible global impact. Here's me being vulnerable, asking for your help, putting myself out there. And I hope you're going to do the same. Think about, where have you been holding back for fear of rejection, fear of not being accepted, and what's a step that you can take today to really lean into that? We have created a great worksheet to help really look at the opportunity cost. There's a cost of staying where you are, and there's an opportunity. Download the worksheet and use it to help you be more vulnerable, to help you lean in so that you can really live your best life. Be vulnerable, choose connection over fear of rejection, and here is to you living a life you love.